you can argue that the U.S. cycle is getting, I guess, towards the late side part of things. Asia, in some ways, is still in the thick of it and reemerging from this pandemic in some ways as well. How are you looking at these diverging cycles around the world here right now? And is it a time still to be a contrarian?
You know, the U.S. had a brief period of difficulty in the second quarter of 2020. The economy rebounded very nicely in the third quarter and has been doing very well since then, despite the fact that interest rates have not been cut. There are people arguing for stimulus, but so far they haven't gotten it. It doesn't seem there's a need to stimulate, given how well the economy is doing and how well labor is doing. But, you know, obviously, as you say, other countries are not quite doing quite as well. There seems to be some asynchronous elements in the global monetary picture. But, you know, I think that most things are going in the right direction. People are very happy investing in the United States. They like our legal system, economic system, corporate sector, and you know, the only thing that's challenging about the U.S. is that a lot of those merits are priced in. Well, given that the U.S. is priced highly, a lot of the opportunities for bargains are outside the U.S. Obviously, China is on a lot of people's uninvestable list. That tends to depress its value, and we like to look at things that other people aren't interested in. So China is one good example. But you know, we are not macro investors. We're not top down. We don't affect a geographic diversification for its own sake. We go where the bargains are, and we're finding lots of bargains in many places.
Howard, I'm curious because you've made it to Tokyo, of course, and what are the kinds of conversations you're having with investors there? And what sort of investments are you also looking at in the country?
Most of our involvement in Japan is investing outside Japan for Japanese investors. The yields are fairly low in Japan, and generally speaking, not additive to our global portfolios. But, you know, Oaktree has been maintaining for over a year and a half a thesis we call sea change, which says that unlike the preceding 13 years, interest rates in the coming 5 to 10 will not be characterized by constantly declining rates or ultra-low rates. That's our thesis. That means that opportunities to make good money with the risk under control in credit investments is strong and will persist. That's mostly what we're talking about here. And, you know, we're conducting a conference this week for our first regional conference for Asia. And I must say that the reception is very positive.
Yeah, and certainly there's been so much spotlight on Japan recently. It's interesting. I was reading your latest memo on impact of debt, and you mentioned about a lot of these ultra-durable companies in Japan, where there's more than 100 that have been operating for hundreds of years. And the key thing that you notice is that, you know, they have a lot of cash and they're not sitting on a whole lot of debt right now. Do you think this is just a symptom of just, once again, overly cautious sort of corporate management, or have we seen a sea change in Japan in some ways, given this wave of corporate governance, or is this just a function of improving fundamentals that we're seeing among Japan Inc. now?
No, I think that the Japanese culture is essentially conservative in nature, and other than a little burst in the 80s, really never embraced aggressive financing and the high use of leverage. And as the memo said, as you say, non-use of leverage is one of the things that can allow you to survive for very long periods of time. There's a lesson in that, but I think that some leverage is good, but each person or each organization has to identify the level of leverage that's consistent with its circumstances and will lead to long-term survival.